time to rejoin the conversation. Okay, and we are back, and here we go. Party politics. So, a nice home, a nice car, fine clothes, a good job, good school, a pretty wife or a handsome husband, 2.5 kids, a dog, and a white picket fence. Some may say that this sounds like the American dream. But is it the American dream now? Whose dream was it to begin with? And whose dream is it now? You know, that at the beginning of this, podcast, I read an excerpt from the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. And it also makes me think about, Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And then, of course, in this particular political time, we're having so much debate over the dreamers. So that makes me really think about the American dream. What is it? And whose is it? Does it belong to everybody? Because that's kind of how we were taught, that it was, that it belonged to any and everybody. But it seems as if these days, if it hasn't been hijacked, it's definitely being veered.
I think you're combining two things, like nice car, fine clothes. That's like keeping up with the Joneses type thing.
Well, I think at one point people thought that was the American dream, like to have these things was the dream, and I'm like, but is it? Was it?
But the American dream is being able to make money and have a good life, but that isn't the definition of everybody's good life.
I got something I'd like to bring up here. Mm-hmm. I think it's a simpler thing, because I think anybody can achieve the American dream, and they may not be by getting rich, and it may be finding their place in life. So basically, I think you just need, really, we just want some essential things: food, shelter, meaningful work, companionship, freedom, forgiveness, acceptance, and love. Those are a lot of things right there. And that's where the American dream is, because we can have a lot of these things. And if you can find those things in your life, and I'd even add faith for some, it helps bring a lot of these things by, and to be able to help your fellow man or woman.
Yeah.
You have to find your place in life. You have to find your niche. You have to find your place that makes you happy. And I think that in America, you can find those things as long as you keep yourself focused on what your goal or your place in life will be. And there's a lot of countries that it's very difficult to find any of those things in a lot of ways. So besides love, you can always find love anywhere. People are going to love each other even in the worst circumstances. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think our country is getting better. Our economy does make a difference. When the economy's better, unemployment goes down. We have better things happening to people where they have a chance to get out. Now, wages have to come up, and they have to find a better way to live. And there's a lot of problems that we have. We're always going to have warts in America. America's full of its warts, but it's also full of its successes.
You look like you got something to say.
I was just thinking through this list. First of all, I think that's an awesome list. Big Dave, like those are things that I think everybody, no matter where you are, want. As far as this list, the nice home, nice car, etc., I think those things are just indicators of the wealth right? If you have wealth, you could get those things. And maybe the American dream is having the option to get those things, whether that's what you want or not, or reducing the barriers to be able to get there as early in life as possible.
I can agree with that. I mean, I think it's all true. Really, what I'm saying, like with this list of things, is, just the kind of outward manifestations of the list that you gave. It's if you've got, the love and the acceptance and the happiness, and a lot of the times, I think a lot of Americans would view those, and all of these are relative. We're not necessarily saying you're in the greatest neighborhood in the world, and but you can be, working in a coal mine and feel as if you've achieved the American dream because you're able to provide what you consider, a nice home and a nice car, and Oprah may not think that Toyota Corolla is that nice because she's in a different tax bracket, but I think everybody's American dream, I think, is to scale to kind of what feels good and comfortable for you and your family. And we all want better. Like, no matter where you are, you want better. But I do think that I've been just kind of wrestling with the whole concept of the American dream because of all of the things that have been going on the past, year or two, and in our kind of discourse, and and it makes me wonder. I guess first question to tackle is, what is the American dream? What is there a unified answer that we kind of can say, all right, this looks and sounds like the American dream, at least at this table. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the list. All respect to the list, and those are nice things. I just feel like I've never met anyone who goes, adequate shelter. I feel really good now. I'm really living the dream now. That's not America at all to me. I mean, I think America is exactly what you said. It's the opportunity to always do and be better. Simply, that's it. And, I don't care if you want a house, don't want a house, whatever you want to do in life. Maybe you don't want to love. Who cares? It's just literally whatever you want that you think makes your life better, and you have the opportunity to go out and try to get it. You don't have that opportunity in a lot of other places, so that makes America a little bit unique, and it's something that we should be grateful for. But it's not setting a bunch of minimums and seeing if we can get past the minimums. It's striving for the maximum, and that's an infinitely different thing to me. Yeah. So, and honestly, the one I'm super curious to hear about is from you, Adrian, because you literally deal with this every day, and with your group and everything. I wonder what those kids are thinking.
Yeah, and that's honestly it. It's to take kids from one state where there's minimum, and to show them there's an opportunity to do things way beyond what your circumstances are. And I completely agree with what Chris said. It's taking yourself and pushing yourself beyond your own limited potential and go to your maximum potential. And so whatever that means for you, if it's owning your own business, if it's getting married and falling in love and having kids, if it's keeping up with the Joneses, if that's what your thing is, then that's what your thing is.
I think with that, not to cut you off if you were finna jump in, Brian, but I think with that we may have at least a baseline for what a definition of the American dream is. So that brings me to the next question is, so if that's the baseline, is that the real baseline? Is that everybody's American dream? Is that, or would other people consider the American dream something different, or maybe that's what the American dream was, and it's not that anymore?
No, I don't think that if we're willing to define the American dream as the opportunity to do and be your best and just have the opportunity. It's not a guarantee of success. It's a matter of you have the opportunity to do whatever you want with it. That will always be the American dream to me. Now, and I'm going to go back to something Jackie said, because I agree with you a little bit. It's tough to integrate what I think are two very different concepts here. When you have Martin Luther King on the one hand, who's talking about people who are already here and trying to remove obstacles that prevent them from opportunities, that's one. And then the Statue of Liberty is something completely different. There's a reason it's outside of Ellis Island. It's because it is the largest immigration center in the United States, where people from all over the world come to try to get into this country and have that opportunity for themselves. Those are two very different issues to me.
Yeah.
And it's tough to mix them together. And as a fan of no borders, I wish we didn't even have that. So I'm a fan of everybody coming over, but I can see why people would want to separate those things out. And I know we have the DACA stuff coming up. If we're going to have borders and you have the tough thing of immigration, that's a world different, especially when it comes to illegal immigration versus making the lives of Americans better and that kind of stuff. I don't know. That's where it starts to become a gray area, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, and I think if you go all the way back to colonization, the whole point of people coming to America was to, escape persecution and living free and being able to pursue what you wanted to pursue. Now, unfortunately, people were involved and people can be greedy, and because they're getting what they want and they want more of what they want. So that's a whole nother conversation. But really, it's to come here or be here and to pursue what makes you happy.
Well, that's a world difference, man. And I just want to jump on this real quick, and then I'll be quiet for a long time. But I think there's an enormous difference from somebody going, I need to get the hell out of a bad situation, versus what I think America's always symbolized, which is, no, we're a promise of a better life. We're an option of a better life.
Yeah,
there are two different motivations for going.
But most people that come here are coming here because they are escaping something else.
No, not at all. In fact, a lot of people just want something better. Yeah. And I think that's an enormous difference.
Escaping something worse.
Not at all.
You guys are trying to be too literal with it. When I say escaping something else, I'm saying I can't make money here. I can't be happy here. I need to get out of this place, so I'm going to go here where everybody seems to be happy and where they can pursue what they want to pursue.
I understand the point, and it's not just a semantic difference to me. There's one that is rooted in the negative and one that's rooted in the very positive. And I choose to see at least the symbolic nature of this country as being a very positive, Lady Liberty beacon that says, make yourself better. Come to a land of unlimited opportunities and dreams. That's very different than when, hey, why don't you get out of your crap hole that you're in and come over here and maybe you can get by. It's not going to be as bad as your country. That's completely different.
I think we're saying the same thing.
It's a world different. There's a huge chasm between not bad and good. They're very separate concepts.
I didn't say anything about them coming here because it's not as bad. I said they can come
they're escaping.
here.
They're escaping something that's bad in their homeland. That to me isn't why I want necessarily people to come here. I want them to come here for the greatest life possible.
Like I said, we're saying the same thing.
I think what Chris is trying to say is that if you want to come here to America, that's great. We want you to come here and be part of America, to be productive in America, to have success, your own success in America.
Again, we're saying the same thing.
A little different. It is a little different. And I agree I have to kind of agree with Chris on this.
Okay.
There we go.
I don't have anything to debate you about, because I'm telling you we're saying the same thing. You're not hearing it the same way, and maybe I'm not saying it right, but I'm saying the same thing you are. So.
But in America, the podcast knows, and I've talked about this before, I was a homeless drug addict on the streets of New Orleans. And I've crawled myself out of that to become a successful businessman. That's a long crawl, I can promise you. But the ladder is there in America, that where you can do that. You don't have to depend on the government to do it. You can do it yourself, and it's not an easy thing. America will reward those who work hard and are willing to take chances and willing to get knocked down and fail and get back up, and knock down and fail and get back up. Those are the things that will reward you. You can find your own success in different ways, and sometimes it's only, maybe you make $30,000 a year. But if you make $30,000 a year and you can say, hey, I'm good with this, and this is where I'm going to be, then that's great. If you make $100,000 a year, or $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year, it's all relevant to where you want to go and how you want to get there. Now, there are a lot of economical and social issues, education issues, transportation issues that create a lot of problems for a lot of people to achieve this dream. So, we still have a long ways to go to be able to try to help most of our Americans to do it. And I think our government fails us in the ability to reach out and put more money into efforts to raise up people in bad economic situations and dependent upon the government to be able to go forward and find their own success without the government helping them along.
Well, Adrian, you talk to these kids every day. What do they think are the biggest obstacles to achieving what they would consider a dream?
I was actually thinking of a kid I actually talked to over the weekend, and I knew him early on in high school, and when I was back in Georgia, and he actually recently graduated from West Georgia back in Atlanta, and he was telling me that, hey, I'm a manager of a restaurant now, and I was like, crap, dude, that's fantastic. But to know the circumstances in which he came from was, to go from one state to another, I think that's the American dream, the progression of gaining the maturity, gaining the knowledge, you surrounding yourself with people that motivate you in a way to want to pursue those things. To hear him go from, you encouraged me to go from high school to college, from college to study abroad to where I was selected from this corporation to learn how to manage, my own restaurant, to one day now, my goal in life is to eventually own. And I was like, that to me is the American dream. And, things obviously in life are going to filter into that, wife, kids, even more obstacles that he don't even know about that's going to come as an adult. But to see that progression and see kids say, you were right, and even my son just turned 20 years old over the weekend, to see him, go from, what we went through as parents to him, to see, hey man, I'm working now, I got dreams, I got ambitions. That's the American dream. You plant the seed, you water it, and you eventually hope to harvest it at some point.
Right. So that's where mentors are a big part of what America is. There are a lot of examples around us. I can look back on so many mentors, not in my family and in business and in life, of people that have inspired me. When we had the Boys Hope Breakfast, remember I had you guys over for that?
Oh yeah.
What did I tell you? Every single one of you inspire me.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And I watch these young people become something in life that inspires me. And that's what America is that you can be inspired. You can be inspired to rise up against unbelievable odds and even poverty to become unbelievably successful people.
What we can't get into is getting to a point where we think the American dream is easy. And that's what's being oversold now. It's, you take a picture, you post it, and this is
you living the dream.
You living the dream.
It's hard. You got to work at it.
Definition of the American dream?
If you have
You
found,
look it up?
I did not look it up. I wanted us to discuss it, but I knew somebody would Google it.
Jackie's a pro at it.
Oh, she's a pro at Google.
Didn't need to.
It says the American dream is a national ethos of the United States, a set of ideals, democracy, rights, liberty, opportunity, and equality, in which freedom includes the opportunity of prosperity and success, as well as an upward social mobility for the family and children achieved through hard work in a society with few barriers.
You know what? Actually,
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Life should be better, it's quote, life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement, regardless of social class or circumstances of birth. Which is why for many immigrants, the Statue of Liberty was their first view of the United States. It signifies new opportunities in life, and thus the statue is an iconic symbol of the American dream. It is also rooted in the Declaration of Independence, which proclaims that all men are created equal with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
You know,
That goes back to MLK.
I always thought that was an interesting phraseology. To life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And maybe that's one of the things that's kind of made me a more chill and content human over the years, because it does not say you have the right to happiness, but you damn sure have the right to pursue it.
Yes, you do.
You damn sure have the right to pursue it.
Yes, you do.
And I think that's pretty special. As the millennial at the table, what do you think?
I think that's brilliant phrasing, because it's almost impossible to prove wrong in most situations. Or not wrong, but it's to say that that's not possible.
What is your definition of happiness?
I don't know that I figured that out yet.
I guess rhetorically, what it's
Everybody's definition would be a little bit different. You know, it's funny. We've been doing this Bible study from this book called, How to Be Happy. And but I think the first chapter really kind of spells it out as clearly as it could be in the book, because there's only 4 chapters. The biggest thing is really. The biggest thing is, there's a phrase in the Bible that this is, that basically says nothing can make you happy. But if you really break that down, it's not nothing can make you happy. It's no thing can make you happy. There's no one thing that's going to give you the American dream. It is that hard work and that pursuit toward all the things that you love. It's the relationships in your life. It's, do you have food and shelter and all the other things that are just necessary for a comfortable life. But I used to think back in the day if I had a record deal and millions of dollars, I would be happy. And but to tell you the truth, I don't know. I mean, I can definitely have some fun with it, but I don't think that I can be a more happier human being because I've got more money, because I've got some pretty full relationships in my life, and those friendships and the love in my life really help me define my happiness and define my dream. It helps, and not just define it, refine it. Because I think as you get older, like you may start off 18 years old and what the American dream is in your head, but at 44 that dream may look a little different. Not necessarily 100% different, but you've definitely refined it, and so now you're not trying to be, trying to be a rock star with studs in your nose, but you find other things that surround that dream that fulfill you. And
let's go back to brain mass a little bit. He's a millennial. You're still in your 20s, right?
I am.
All right.
For a little while longer.
For a little while longer.
A little bit.
But
hold on to that.
It is a point in your 20s where you haven't really, and I can go back to myself, it's hard to gain enough wisdom in life to understand really where you are. I mean, I don't think a lot of that wisdom comes until your 30s. It's kind of like you almost have to get to a certain point in life, I always said, where you realize you don't know shit. And all of a sudden you realize, hey, I don't know shit. Now I can really start learning.
Right.
And you're approaching that time. Your maturity, I've known you for a while now, is increasing. You've made some job changes. You got a beautiful woman in your life. And so you're starting to head towards that plane. And all of a sudden, these things start to become a realization to you of what is important in your life and what is makes you happy. I mean, you dealt with your father's death. You're dealing with your mother having cancer. So you have issues in your life now that are difficult to deal with. And so you learn to work through a lot of issues. But your happiness will come. And you will find out what that happiness is in you. But it is hard to define it at your age. It's very hard to define because you really don't have the time in life yet.
Yeah, I would say, as our knowledge increases, our ignorance kind of unfolds because we start to understand what we don't know. And just kind of, again, reading back through, I mean, I don't want to keep going back to the list, but just some of the things that kind of, my initial thoughts, which I'm sure everyone here can shoot a bunch of holes through, but I don't like to play the millennial card because I believe that hard work, helps you progress there. But I think a lot of the mindset of millennials is I want to hurry up and get there. And wherever there could be, let's just say it's a house. I want to hurry up and get a house, a home, and maybe start a family. And I think a lot of the path that has been taught is go to college to get there. And the cost of college has increased so much, which is why I think people should really look into community college whenever an option.
Or skilled labor.
Or skilled labor. Absolutely, but there for the longest time that wasn't a thing that was pushed. It was always college.
Correct.
Which was really expensive, and by the time you make decisions that weren't the best decision, right? We're too young to be signing tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes dozens into hundreds of thousands of dollars for college, and then by the time you get out, you already have a mortgage in debt without the house.
It's too much added pressure.
And you can't go back. There's no forgiveness for that in most cases. If you become a teacher, if you might be able to get some sort of forgiveness program after 5 years of teaching in a lower economic place. But there's, the mistake was made if you count it as a mistake. But regardless, the whole goal may have been to get a house, right? Just as an example. And by the time you get to that point, you realize if I were to get a home that I wanted, I'm going to have to basically double my debt, which I cannot do, because then I can't afford any kind of car to get me to and from work, or at least to build some sort of savings. So it kind of compounds, and I think we could get to a situation where we just have to accept this is the reality that we're in, and in a sense we go into denial and say, you know what, I don't want a home. I want to rent. I want to rent for the next decade. And maybe that wasn't your dream before, but now it has to become your dream because
So it's become a reality.
Because you can't get that home.
Which gets me back to refining the dream. Sometimes, like I said, it's not changing necessarily, but I do think there comes a point where you do have to start refining the dreams, refining the goals, because it's not that you don't want to do these things. It's not that you don't want the house anymore, but you have to go, okay, I can't go from mom's house to my house. So I need to do something in the middle. But it's all part of a journey that, to me is kind of the, I guess, birthright of the American dream, is that journey.
But I think that's the missing part of the message, is it's always, well, if you go through college, you get out, you'll be able to get a home and all these things, but millennials, for lack of, people my age, I think kind of expect right? The instant gratification to say, well, as soon as I do that, I can have what I've been working hard for and have it, and now move on to the next thing.
I honestly don't think it's just millennials. You got people older than you that think it's going to happen just as fast sometimes.
Yeah.
Seriously. So we have to get a sense of again, the American dream is having the right to pursue what you feel like the dream is. What you're talking about are a lot of just principles and some things that you learn along the way. I screwed up a ton of money, being young, but that's how the pursuit happens. So you learn from those mistakes and you grow from them, and you still say, okay, I'm still aiming for that, but now I have to go back and I kind of have to change my game plan a little bit. So that's just part of it. I mean, for Chris to be here and he has investments in several different businesses, it didn't come just because you were a graduate of a college. It came because you gained knowledge and you made mistakes.
Graduate college.
Okay, I know you went, but you gained knowledge. You made some mistakes, and it came from you were in one state, and you realized, okay, this is not the state that I necessarily see myself in long term, but I want to progress to a different state. And so that's what we all hear. I mean, I don't think Dave is just satisfied with just his business sitting still. You still got to have business coming in. So, I mean, it doesn't stop just because you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm going to work.
Right.
And, you finish one project and you just sit around waiting on the next. Now, you got to put yourself out there continuously. And you never stop growing. I mean, I don't care how old you are. The moment you say, I'm going to stop growing, I'm going to stop feeding myself as far as knowledge and...
Crawl under a rock, it's over.
You get ready to hang it up. You're done.
So I got a twist on the question.
Okay.
So as a black man, the concept of the American dream looks like what? See, I knew it would be a twist.
Well, I mean, I think that it depends on what environment you're in as a minority. And I mean, you got Hispanics that are in certain environments that are just as negative, and when you see a certain thing over and over and over again, that's usually the state that you stay in until you get exposed to something different. And that's truly what happened with me.
Which is why I passed division.
Right. And I got exposed to something different, and then I had a no shit moment. Like, oh shit, this is what it could be like. Like my back door told me the environment is constantly going to be this way, so this is what I'll just get used to. Right. And then I had a moment when somebody pulled me to the side, like, come ride with me for a second, and I saw something different, and I was like, damn. So now I can pursue this. You just got to have that moment, that jolt. You got to have that aha moment, and exposing more people to that, whether you're white, black, or whatever.
Yeah.
You get that sense. So whether you're poor white, poor black, rich white, whatever. I mean, you still got billionaires still seeking to make more money.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's not necessarily about the money. It's about the pursuit of something bigger than they thought they could do, or the challenge.
Right.
So that still is a part of the dream.
It's funny you mentioned that, because to me, that's what it was as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was being exposed to something different. Like my backyard, as you say, was, when I was growing up, in the block my grandparents lived on, which I spent the majority of my time. When I was growing up, that block was rough. Mm-hmm. And that block was rough, those kids was rough, but those were the kids that I knew. But my mom, was determined to, put me in private school, and that private school was all the way downtown Chicago. So I really got a chance to see a different way of life, different pace of life, be around kids who were in different, socioeconomic situations than I was. But I think and I don't know if there are listeners out there in podcast land, but I remember I had two black guys that went to school with me whose parents were super well off. And so I was like, oh, there are black people who live this way. Oh, we didn't live bad, like me personally, but the neighborhood I'm from would not inform me that way.
That was someone else telling you what your American dream should be.
Exactly.
So-
But once I got down, and in fact, their names were Jamal and Farron. If you're out there in podcast land, what's happening? The fact that you guys went to 8th grade graduation in brand new Brooks Brothers suits, and I went to graduation in some stuff my mom pieced together from Marshalls. It let me know, oh, that's a possibility for me. Mm-hmm. And I remember I had a Jewish classmate. His name was Lane, oddly enough, and he, I remember. No, I'm sorry. His name wasn't Lane. His name was actually, I did have a Jewish classmate named Lane, but I had another mixed kid that I was cool with. His name was Adrian, and for 8th grade graduation, like his mom, he was the reverse Cosby's. So his mom was a doctor, dad was a judge, and for 8th grade graduation, couldn't even do anything with it. He had a Porsche 911 as a graduation present. And he lived in the John Hancock building, downtown Chicago. So going over to his house and just sitting in his car, just sitting there, because he couldn't do anything with it. So we were just in the parking garage sitting in it. I was like, I can't believe this is your car. And of course, me not necessarily being the most trustful kid in the world, I had to ask. He was like, yeah, I mean, we know he's not gonna be able to do anything with it, and we got a good deal on it, but just the fact that they were like, it was just not a thing to them. It really let me know there's more, and it's okay for me to want it.
Yeah.
So just as a follow-up question, which I guess it's interesting to hear about the different experiences. Is it a case where growing up you were pessimistic about achieving an American dream, or was it literally I just have never been exposed to what the dream possibly could be?
A little bit of both.
Yes.
You're taught rural South Georgia. You're taught white people hate you, police hate you, white people hate you. So you got to stay within this zone. So don't get outside of that. Like to this day, I can talk to my grandmother and I'd be like, and I'll joke with her. I say, I'm gonna put you on the plane and you're gonna go fly and see me. She is not getting on the plane. But when I was growing up and I was like, I'm going to get on the plane, I'm gonna fly to the school just so I can have a college visit.
Right.
And then everybody was like, you're gonna get on the plane? Don't do that shit. They crash. You're gonna die. So it's putting that fear in you of don't just stay here. Don't make yourself better in any kind of way, which they couldn't see beyond that because all they saw was what we saw every day, day in, day out. My graduation, the night before we graduated, me and some buddies got with, a bunch of kids, and it was some white kids, Hispanic kids, and we were all at this big lake, and there were these huge houses lining around the lake. And we were like, wow. And honestly, me and 3 of my best homeboys, we got together, we were in a huddle, and we were kind of hugging up, and we were like, we're graduating from high school tomorrow, and this is what we have to go towards going forward. And those guys, all of them are very successful. One's an engineer, one worked for the Pentagon at one point, but we just kept that promise to ourselves. So it was just, you had people telling you, nah, you can't do that, they're not gonna let you do that. Who is they? They is you. So the only person that's going to keep me from doing or pursuing is myself. And the only thing that holds on to happiness, I control my happiness. It's not necessarily a thing or money in the bank or a house that makes me happy. I make me happy. I can live in a shoebox.
Amen. That's rock solid.
Amen.
That's rock solid.
Amen. Which is why I wanted to have this conversation. Mm-hmm. Because the things, they're all good. They're all well and good, and we all like things. Some people probably like things. I probably like things more than I probably should. But they don't make me happy. It really has been my ability to open my mind and say, there's a thing I want, and I'm able to go after it. And because at the end of the day, I think I never heard it said that way, but I think you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, they is you. They is that voice in the back of your head that, probably, sounds like, a parent or a neighbor or a grandparent or whatever that actually really meant the best for you, but I remember this analogy, Pastor T.D. Jakes, I remember him talking about, you have turtles and giraffes. And
turtles and giraffes.
Yeah. Now, turtles and giraffes, they tend to actually live in the same geographic areas. But here's the thing with turtles and giraffes. If you're a giraffe and you spend all your time with turtles, you spend all your time looking down, and the turtles can be trying to give you the best advice possible, but they can only see a couple of feet in front of them. But a giraffe, you're built to see above the trees. You're built to see for a mile. So if you don't surround yourself with other giraffes that can also see the vision that you see, eventually you'll keel over and die, because giraffes aren't made to hold their head down that long. They always talk about, they're physically built differently. They're built for their hearts to pump more blood up that long neck to that head, so that they can eat from tops of trees and look for a mile. And there's nothing wrong with a turtle, but you can't be completely surrounded by people that can't see what you can see if you ever plan to get there. And I always remembered that analogy, because it wasn't saying that any one person was better or any one position was better. It was just, if you're made for more and you keep yourself in positions and surrounded by people who can't help you see more, eventually, you either keel over, or you at best start to mimic the people that are around you. And so I personally feel very blessed that I've known people that have done things and maybe not even achieved their full dream, but they've done things that keep me inspired and keep me wanting to look above the trees.
So let me add something to this.
Yeah.
I'm building an 18,000 square foot house for a man and his wife and his kids. And this man's a total asshole, quite frankly. And he's building this house as a monument to himself, obviously. That's what I've called it all along. Is that house going to make him happy? Maybe not.
But he thinks it will right now.
But he thinks it will right now. That's right, Jackie. And that's my point, is that, are you achieving happiness when you're just a total asshole and you're trying to show everybody how big and bad you are? Yeah, I think not. And what if he ends up divorced down the road and you end up trying to split the house and all the crap that comes with that?
But you're focusing on somebody else's happy.
Exactly. But my point being is that this is not a pleasant person. If he's not a pleasant person and he's building this house, my experience over my years of dealing with all types of high clientele. I've had people. I built a house for George Brett. He's happy in that house. You know, I know that George and Leslie are happy in that house.
Yeah,
You know?
I have to definitely say.
But my point is that money doesn't make everything.
No, in fact, I'm going to dare to say money makes much.
And it may make it worse.
Money doesn't make much. Honestly, I am a firm believer. You know the old saying that, money is the root of all evil. And, and once you get money, you will become, a jerk or an asshole or whatever. I've never believed.
Not always.
I've never believed that.
More of what you are.
I believe that money is an amplifier. It is not. It is not magic wand. It doesn't change you. If you were a jerk, money just allows you to be a big jerk.
And that's what this guy is. And I'll go to my example. We have a family home down in Sawgrass, and there's many people down there that I've met that were friends of my parents. They're multi-millionaires. These people have a lot of money. And for the most part, I really like these people.
Yeah.
They're nice folks. They give me their time. They let me play back golf with them, and and hang out and have dinner with them. And these people are titans of industry. Yeah. And they're good people. But there are also some people down there in Sawgrass that I would not classify as that. They're there to show off. There's a lot of difference between showing off and they also, the people that I know down there are wealthy, have done a lot with their money for charities and different things like this. We've talked about it. Yeah. And so, I have to give them their due.
Yeah. I know Chris has got to go. You wanna add anything before you do?
Yeah, I just had, I guess, a last question, again, for you guys, which is, and I'm not about to start dogging on people with money because I love to spend money. I think it's fun. I know I'd be unhappy without money. I'll throw that out. So let me
I don't want to be broke now. I don't want to be broke.
Yeah, there's a line in there.
I was going to go.
Yeah, but I guess the bigger question I have, which is, so after listening to you guys, I think it'd be easy to walk away with this sense of, you just go somewhere, somebody shows you what could be, and then, you kind of go after it, and you had the veil lifted, and now there's this whole new world. And without minimizing that portion of it, it still seems, especially when it come back to like MLK stuff and things like that, there's legitimate barriers that probably you guys have to deal with that nobody else has to deal with at this table that would be obstacles along that path. And that, I think, is still a more interesting conversation because there's legitimate differences probably between even my path. I never grew up thinking I couldn't do anything. And that's not just a mentality thing. It's just probably the way I was raised. But even going beyond that, let's say you grew up going, I can do anything. Well, then you guys probably run into legitimate obstacles that I never would.
There's I was part of an MLK program years ago. And this black guy got up and he spoke, and he came extremely hard. And he said something that has always stuck with me. And he said, Rosa Parks fought to get us a seat on the bus, but a lot of you got on the bus and just sat down, and you never moved again. And that was kind of one of those moments where you say, okay, we fought to get beyond these obstacles, and now what? And that sticks with you because, yes, my son was 2. I was in Walmart. This guy remembered me from high school football. Oh, yeah, you went to college, you're playing ball, you made it. No, I haven't made it. And then he looks at me, he said, but you got to understand, it's a white man's world. And, I was like, whoa, okay, but you don't know who I am personally. You just know me from this guy that put on a helmet and I can run real fast with a ball in my hand. And so those obstacles always will present themselves because you're going to have idiots out there saying stupid stuff like that all the time. But you have to shake yourself out of it. You fall down 7 times, you get up 8. And you just keep pursuing what you know that's been planted inside of you, or what you've been exposed to, or what you truly believe your dream is. It may not come on a grand scale. Your platform may be lower in my eyes, but it may be high for you and yours. And so, those obstacles will always be there. They're still there now. I'm 39 years old, and I can't say that I still haven't faced racism. I faced racism on my last job, which is why I walked away. 6-figure salary. Got sick of it. He kept making comments that I just didn't agree with, and so I got up and I left. So, you have to understand that you are going to pursue what you're going to pursue. And I'm not afraid of losing the money because again, I got there once, I'm gonna get there again. So it's just having that ambition and that stick-to-itness that you just gotta have. So
Yeah.
What I got to say on that is you're the type of man that Dr. King would be proud of. And I mean that.
appreciate it.
What are you thinking, Brain Mass? I see. You look like you're cooking some thought.
Honestly, I was just
You're soaking it in.
soaking all that in. I mean,
That's profound.
yeah.
So actually, I think on that then, we'll end this segment, and we'll be right back. Hey, you having a good time? Let me introduce you to a couple of my media brothers. First, www.americathemixtape.com, a cipher on American politics, society, and culture. And where'd I get that mixtape? Of course, www.cornerbodega.us, purveyors of urban culture. Come on, let's get back to the party. And we are back. And before we get out of here, we're going to talk about today's sugar, honey, iced tea. And for those that don't know, these are things that I or a member of the group have found that are really cool, aka the shit. And today's sugar, honey, iced tea is dreams. I heard this. I was looking at the Grammys and I heard this quote from. It actually was like one of those press conferences after the Grammys or whatever, and I think the young lady that said it was specifically talking about kind of the whole Dreamer DACA situation, but I really took it. Kind of for the literal words that she said, and not attaching it to anything currently political, because I found that statement she made so profound. It was Camilla Cabello, and she's got a hit on the radio right now called Havana, but and I think she's actually Cuban descent herself, but she said that, remember, America was built by dreamers, for dreamers, striving for the American dream. And I just found that phrase was really profound to me, because at the end of the day, that's really what it is. It's not about particularly DACA or any of that stuff. It's about people who have a dream, they're striving for better in their life, and they're on the backs of people who had dreams that were striving for better in their lives, and so on, all the way back to the founding of this nation. And yes, as a black man, I have, had my fair share of, racism things happen over the years, but what I've found is you remove as many people from your life as quickly as possible that don't let you see above the trees. And with that, I'm going to end this podcast in the way I end all podcasts, and that is with the toast that started it all for me, and that is to good times with good people.